The way we use AI here is really across the board. Most recently, we announced a new product called Productboard Pulse, which helps product managers to really accelerate ideation and discovery pieces of this product management process by aggregating all the different insights, customer feedback that an organization has in a single place, in a single repository, where the PM automatically gets trends surfaced about certain feedback themes, about the product, about the go-to-market process, about pricing, whatever it might be that customers have issues with, and can also use basically an AI chat interface to ask specific questions like, hey, what is a specific customer saying about X? And that like really accelerates that ideation and discovery process from weeks to, we believe, days.
Hi, this episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS. Terabytes and petabytes data is exploding in our daily lives. How many connected devices do you own? Do you ever wonder how all this data could be used in emergencies? By 2030, we'll have over 32 billion IoT devices worldwide, double what we have now. Despite this data abundance, there's a critical safety gap. Vital information isn't reaching emergency responders in time. This gap results in reactive rather than proactive emergency response, putting lives and property at unnecessary risk. Many of us have had emergencies in our homes where we depend on EMS to respond quickly. Rapid SOS is closing this safety gap with their AI-powered intelligent safety platform. They connect life-saving data from over 540 million devices to more than 21,000 public safety agencies across 6 countries. Despite $200 billion in annual safety system investments, enterprises often lack timely, actionable information during emergencies. Rapid SOS is changing that. It's not just about avoiding problems. Safety investments are linked to increased customer satisfaction, employee retention, and long-term firm value. Close the safety gap and transform your emergency response with Rapid SOS. Visit rapidsos.com/IonAI. That's IonAI, EYEONAI, all run together. Visit rapidsos.com/IonAI today to learn how AI-powered safety can protect your people and boost your bottom line. That's RapidSOS, rapidsos.com/IonAI. Visit them today. So go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us how you got to Productboard and what it is.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So maybe I'll start with Productboard and what we do. So Productboard, we're a end-to-end customer-centric product management platform. So for product leaders, we're basically their command and control center for their product organization. And for individual contributor PMs that do the day-to-day work, we help them get the job done more efficiently, faster, and focus on the things that truly matter. And that is the product management craft. So as a comparable to think about, basically what Salesforce is to customer relationship management, we are to the product management discipline. And just to outline a little bit what the product management job is and how we think about it, product managers and organization, it's still a fairly new, fairly evolving discipline. Typically own vision, strategy, and execution, road mapping for a specific product area, and basically, ultimately to drive business outcomes and working very closely with customers to ultimately bring amazing products to market. Today, we count over 6,000 customers, including some brands like Salesforce, Toyota, and Zoom. And the reason why they choose Productboard is because they want to increase product ROI, get their product to markets to faster, et cetera. Now, I'm currently the VP of product here at Productboard. And the reason why I joined the company is because I'm personally extremely passionate about the product management craft and building amazing products for our customers. And actually, I've set all my, let's say, product management career up to mastering my own product management craft. I started at Google, really absorbing the skill sets of many amazing product managers there. Then I went to DocuSign when the company was pre-IPO. Had amazing mentors, folks who spent like decades at Microsoft. I could learn so much from. And then I was also at Meta for a year and a half, where we actually had something called product manager circles, where we'd meet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and we'd exchange like challenges and problems that we're facing, how to write a product vision document. And so I'm super excited to bring that all to Productboard now and help other product organization, product managers excel at their product management craft, knowing that it needs to be, opinionated in a way, but also flexible to meet the needs of the specific organization.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody uh, probably on the podcast a few weeks ago, and they had worked at Microsoft early on, and they told me that Bill Gates actually created the position of product manager. Do you know if that's true?
I think there's different viewpoints on the subject. I think Microsoft specifically had a role called program manager earlier on, which definitely had some aspects of the product management role the way it is known today. And actually, one of my former mentors, she still mentor, is or was a program manager at Microsoft and was
Hmm.
then a product manager at DocuSign, a product leader. Many people also attribute Google to having like really founded the role and brought it to life and scaled it. So hard
Yeah.
to tell who actually did it. Sometimes the good thing is the role is scaling, and many organizations have
Yeah.
product
Well,
managers.
maybe start by describing exactly what a product manager is. I mean, a lot of people get confused between product manager and project manager. Uh, so, yeah, can you just in a nutshell say what a product manager is, and then talk about how Product Board developed?
Sure. So, a product manager in a nutshell is a function in an organization that owns the vision, the strategy, and the execution of a specific product or part of the product in larger organizations. To that end, they work together with the engineers, the designer, other folks in the organization to build ultimately the right product for the customers. And so the way that we think about product management is that it really always starts with customer centricity. So this is baked into, we call it the product excellence framework, which is basically a process that you can follow. It all starts with the customer inputs, making sure that you're actually solving a customer need. Then you turn that into a roadmap that you share with your team members so that you can collaborate on that, and then ultimately delivering these features to market and getting feedback on that, all the while making sure that you're aligned to the strategic objectives to the company to ultimately drive that business impact. So the product management role is in that ways many very versatile because it requires a certain like product sense where you have to figure out like what is the right product to build. You need to be able to talk to customers. You need to be able to work with engineers, with designers, and you always need to think back about business strategy as well. So it's actually a really fun role.
Hmm. And so, how did Product Board develop?
Yeah. So our founder came up with the idea for Product Board on a plane flight when he was, trying with the Wi-Fi on the plane to basically manage, his product roadmaps, etc. Basically working on spreadsheets and presentations, etc., which is a very inefficient process because it typically involves a lot of redundancies in organizations. So, for example, just to give you a sense, like when I actually started at DocuSign, I was asked to put together a presentation going around the entire product team that would summarize our product roadmap. Now, that was a great onboarding exercise for me, but that roadmap was outdated after just 2 weeks. And when we then presented to a chief product officer, we had to be like, oh, yeah, this is here, but in reality, it's taken a week longer and whatever it is. So I think our founder faced that very similar pain point. And that's when he decided to basically build a solution for that. And, that is basically what Product Board is today, really covering that whole product management process end to end.
And tell me about how AI integrates into the product board platform.
Yeah. So we take a very customer centric approach to using AI in the product board platform. And so it manifests in a few ways. Basically the way we think about it is like, how can we help PMs do their job faster, do their job most efficiently, drive greater ROI for the organization? And the way we think about the process is it starts with ideation, where you think about like, hey, what are the right products to build in the first place? Then you do discovery, where you basically try to figure out like, hey, does this idea that I have actually have legs? And let me go validate with customers to make sure it's the right thing. And then there's the delivery cycle of actually like building the product itself. So the way we use AI here is really across the board. Maybe just to give a few examples. Most recently, we announced a new product called Productboard Pulse, which helps product managers to really accelerate the ideation and discovery pieces of this product management process by aggregating all the different insights, customer feedback that an organization has in a single place, in a single repository, where the PM automatically gets trend surfaced about certain feedback themes, about the product, about the go to market process, about pricing, whatever it might be that customers have issues with, and can also use basically an AI chat interface to ask specific questions like, hey, what is a specific customer saying about X? And that like really accelerates that ideation and discovery process from weeks to, we believe, days. Beyond that, we use AI like in the delivery pieces and discovery pieces when you actually write these product specs. So what product managers do to convey their product vision, their ideas, actually the product that needs to be built to engineers, to designers, they typically write some sort of product specification to inform that. Now we use AI here as well to accelerate that writing of that spec, whether it's like automatically spitting out the pain points that customers have, then like ideas for requirements, solution suggestions, or whatever it is. And the reason why we can do that so well is because underneath our platform is a really structured basically database about the entire product organization and the products that they have, and that helps us inform the large language models that we are using to create really good output for product managers and help them get the job done faster.
Right. You say that underlying knowledge base is not of a specific product, uh, but the I'm sorry, not a specific product, but sort of knowledge of the product manager role or product management in general. Is that right?
It's both. It's both. We do, when customers work with us, they typically build out their product hierarchy into, we call it the product hierarchy, into product board, where say like you have a mobile application, you have a web application, whatever it is, and you have a bunch of features and components underneath that. And that then, basically mirrors the real products. And so then, when the PMs go in and they ask the AI a specific question, like, hey, how might I improve this specific product based on all that customer feedback that we're seeing? The prompt can be highly contextual. And so yeah, so it's both like we have the product management best practices that we believe in and that is, reflected in the way we work with AI. And we have, because our customers enter that into our system, and sometimes, we help them in this process, the actual hierarchy of their product landscape in our product as well.
Yeah. And most of the product managers I know joined organizations and took over an existing product or product line. But this platform uh, can help from uh, you know ground zero, right? That you imagine a product and work out what the product is going to be. So can you take us through sort of how the platform works? Like if you come to the platform, you want to create a product, what do you do?
Sure. So it actually does both, Craig, for context, and we can go through both a little bit. Where say like, hey, you're kind of like building on the existing. So like you're a new product manager joining a product board today, and you're trying to figure out in the specific product space that you own, what do you need to do? So you can use actually like our own tools in Productboard to take a look at, hey, how does the product work today? What features are on the backlog? What are customers asking for? You can literally go in and ask the AI, like, hey, what are the top feature requests from customers? And basically explore from there. And that can quickly form your opinion as you ramp up as a new PM on an existing product on where you might want to take it in the future and go through this journey of ideation, discovery, and delivery, and ultimately deliver ROI to the organization that much faster. Now, there's the second journey that you mentioned where it's like, hey, you're a product manager and you're actually trying to figure out, like, hey, is there a new product that you need to build? Oftentimes, that's the case when you're trying to enter a new market or when there's a technology shift that might open up a product opportunity. Similarly, the way the product board helps here in these scenarios is product manager can go into the platform, ask AI and work with the customer feedback to figure out, like, hey, what are existing customers saying about this already? What are sort of like my blind spots that I should go look into? And then start ideating on that, building these product specs and the product documentation that are required directly in the platform, and then engage with different folks in the organization to really get this discovery process started, and ultimately then later on translate that into actually building out the product and getting that delivered with the engineers and the designers.
Yeah, and on the building out process, again, are there LLMs that are informing that process, or are you connected to, or do your engineers uh, join the platform and you can suggest different engineering solutions to different uh, ideas in the product specs?
Yeah, that's a good question. So engineers can definitely collaborate on the product specs and add to that with the engineering content. Like we don't currently use AI to basically suggest like engineering approaches or technical specs. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you move through this process, and this is how many people can be working on the platform collaboratively?
At this point, our largest customers have probably like thousands of concurrent active users. So just like within one customer, beyond that, we're talking about tens of thousands of active users.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm a product manager, and I sign on to the platform, do I have my designer also on the platform, my software engineer or machine learning, my data scientist also on the platform, so we can sort of work collaboratively on the platform? And how large a team is optimal in that?
Yeah, great question. So we support collaboration for organizations of all sizes, ranging from SMB to enterprise. So no matter if your engineering, product design, partnership organization that you work with is like a total of 100 people, or your organization is like, Salesforce, probably thousands of product managers and peers, like we support all of these use cases. So it really depends on your organization and the size that you have in order to get the best out of product management. We're here to support you. And the way we think about collaboration is like definitely like it's a tool for product managers first and foremost, but engineers and designers and other key stakeholders, data scientists, ML engineers, etc., are definitely like key contributors and also actively involved in the platform and do certain things in there. So for example, we talked about this a little bit earlier. When you use a product manager, you would write a product spec, an engineer would come in and sort of like review it, make comments there, etc. Similar, as you as a product manager build out your roadmap and you say like on the high level, here's where I think I want to go in Q4 this year or Q1 next year, you can invite your partners to provide key input like effort estimations, feedback on the direction, technical feasibility, you can also use these roadmaps to manage up in the organization and like share that with your leadership and get that feedback. Hey, here's what I'm thinking about. Is that aligned with the strategic objectives in my organization? And if not, then thanks for the feedback and I'll go fix it. So, and then we also obviously have collaborators in Product Board from the go-to-market organizations. So oftentimes feedback comes, either directly from the customer success team within the organization, from sellers, professional services team, marketers, wherever it might be, and whoever has like some sort of customer touch point. And we often see those folks use Product Board as well to get that feedback, track how their feedback made it onto the product roadmap, and also stay up to date on the most recent things that actually get delivered and shipped to customers. So our collaboration platform in that sense is really comprehensive and can reach a large part of the organization.
Yeah. You were saying at the beginning that the founder came up with this idea because he was on a plane kind of switching between Excel sheets and, I imagine, Word documents and maybe something else. How do product managers manage complex projects without something like Product Board? Is it all done on Slack and scrolling up and down in a Slack conversation to, see what was said 3 days ago? I mean, I go through that all the time.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think there's different ways to project manage. There's definitely the traditional ones like that you mentioned, like spreadsheets and Slack that still many of our customers use. Some customers also use purpose project management tools specifically for the project management function, which is really all about, driving timelines, making sure milestones are hit, and, making sure scopes are clear. But what we have found is that the product managers that use Product Board prefer our tool simply because it is purpose built for them. We give them sort of the right structure to drive the product management process forward. Again, starting with the ideation and discovery pieces all the way to delivery. So we have specific metadata, for example, like on our roadmaps, like costing, like release timelines, specific tasks that need to be executed for certain feature launches. Where then when a product manager actually like thinks about the entire process, that's why they'd rather spend time in a product management solution specifically dedicated to them rather than a generic project management solution, which is really more tailored to timeline tracking, which is what the traditional project management role is more emphasizing.
Yeah. And did you say that you're a product manager at Product Board?
I am a product person and product manager at Product Board. That's correct. Yes.
And do you use Product Board for managing the product of Product Board?
Absolutely. It's very meta in that sense. But yeah, product managers at Product Board, including myself as a product leader and VP of product, we use Product Board for all of our processes. So, for example, when it comes to discovery and figuring out an ideation discovery and figuring out what we actually need to build, we use our new product called Productboard Pulse. That uses generative AI to basically, take all that customer feedback and create the source of truth. And we go in and we leverage those insights to decide. And we just went through this exercise: what goes on the Q4 roadmap and what goes on the annual roadmap for next year. This is actually the season, I think, where everybody's going through this process in product management, because you think about what your annual plan is. So we definitely do that. I personally also use Productboard Pulse, for example, when I go into a customer meeting. So later on today, I have a call with one of our enterprise customers. I will go into Productboard Pulse and learn about all the feature requests that they have made quickly, so that I can get up to speed quickly and show that I can emphasize with their needs and give them context where it sits in where it sits in our roadmap. Similarly, as we just went through Q4 planning now, the roadmaps that we've built, all the individuals, teams that have contributed, created their planning documents in Product Board, built their roadmaps in Product Board, created their feature descriptions in Product Board, and shared them that way with leadership. And we actually also just went through a OKR refresh as part of our objective and key results refresh, which is a goal setting methodology that we use as part of our next fiscal year planning at Productboard. And so these are now also in Productboard, and that's what helps leaders like myself, like our CEO, the founder, make sure that everybody's heading in the right direction, because we can make the tie-in from objective and key result to the actual feature work and really monitor the end-to-end there. So
Yeah.
yes, we use it very heavily and extensively.
What's kind of the range of products that have been designed or are being supported by Productboard?
Yeah, I would say our customers reach across industries. So definitely we're strong. We have strong representation in technology. So whether it's B2B SaaS or consumer companies, definitely well represented there, all the way from SMB to some of the largest tech companies on the planet. We also see Productboard being used in advertising companies, in manufacturing companies, so really all across the board where there might be a digital product in most cases, but we have even seen it's used in certain cases for other non-digital products.
Yeah, is it too robust a solution for a startup?
I think it's a great solution for a startup, to be honest with you. Particularly, I think if you're early and you want to get that product management muscle going in your organization, starting with that foundational structure basically pays off later on, because once you're sort of planting the seed and you're establishing your product hierarchy and you're making sure that, as your product grows, that it's reflected within that, it's extremely valuable. The other thing that's extremely valuable is that in a startup, you actually need to be super laser focused, right? There can't be any slack. Like, mistakes are very painful and
Right.
costly. And if they happen, you need to react quickly. And so Productboard can help you make sure that everyone in the startup is aligned. So it's extremely valuable for startups for sure. I mean, it's obviously also extremely valuable for like the large companies, particularly the ones that are we call them digitally transforming, where the product management muscle isn't as established yet, because again, we help them out by giving them that structured process in terms of ideation, discovery, delivery, helping them make sure the investments are allocated to drive ROI. And we also help with things like the product excellence framework, which is a set of best practices to really help product managers in an organization organize, leverage processes on top of Productboard, to really make the most, out of their product management organization, but also about, the product management deployment itself. But ultimately, it's all about the goal that product management is aligned to, and that's building for customers while driving ROI.
Yeah, and product management doesn't end with the launch of a product. It's sort of a continuous uh, process of evaluating performance or ROI or customer satisfaction. Uh, how is that presented in Productboard? I mean, do you have a dashboard that's tracking these different things? How do you track customer satisfaction? Is there some sort of a feedback tool within Productboard to, I don't know, send surveys or something like that? Uh, or for ROI? I mean, is all of that being fed into Productboard so a product manager has a snapshot at any point in time?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, to many of those things you said. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, the product management job definitely continues post delivery, specifically like for the scenario that you mentioned earlier, where a product manager actually ships something big, something new. Like, that first delivery is actually just, the first milestone. And oftentimes, you joke when you work towards this like first big launch, then it's like, hey, this is when the job really starts, because now
Right.
you really need to hit the ground and get that feedback and iterate the product, just like you mentioned. And so ways that customers can do this today is leverage Productboard Pulse, our new AI tool, to collect that customer feedback and quickly get that feedback in, to see what customers are saying. Just to make it a little bit meta again, Craig, actually customers are giving us feedback about Productboard Pulse, and we're seeing that in Productboard Pulse. Obviously, we're also seeing other feedback across the Productboard platform and Productboard Pulse. So that helps us, quickly react based on the feedback and shift the product roadmap and shift the direction accordingly. We
Yeah.
also have integrations with, various data analytics tools that we can pipe directly into Productboard and dashboards to show things like engagement, usage, and all this kind of stuff that product managers typically care about directly where they do the job. Similarly, you can also tie to actually you can actually also tie the feedback that you're getting to actual revenue impact, which is extremely meaningful, right? When you're like looking through like, hey, this is the product I launched. What are the biggest opportunities I pursue next? Like, what is actually the potential revenue tied to that based on my customer relationship management
Mm.
system, based on, other systems I have internally that track that. And that helps, really accelerate the prioritization decision. To your point about in-product surveys and doing that kind of stuff and launching surveys, that is also a way that we enable customers to see how their product is performing. So there are various ways of doing that, whether you collect a net promoter score directly in the product or a customer satisfaction score. You can tie that all back into Productboard and then see how the different features, how different capabilities, how the different products that you launched are performing. And then ultimately, and this is really where we close the loop and where it becomes really powerful, tie that back in the objectives and key results that you have set as an organization to make sure that you're hitting the goals that you set out to actually hit.
Yeah, and you were talking about presenting to senior management, or if it's a small organization, to the founders. Uh, Presumably, then product board, or do senior management or founders, do they log into product board to review, or does product board have a function to generate a report that you can pass along?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, they absolutely do. So, the CEO directly as the founder, like he spends a lot of time in product board and gives us feedback. Similarly, the entire executive team is actively using product board to, for example, check in on objective and key results progress and see if anything goes off track, and then like digging in specifically into what that might be. Like, somebody uh is there a team that's running into challenges, and then how can we help them? And that is actually something that is used in offline reviews, where you don't need to necessarily be in a meeting to do that. You can do that at any time because we have the right operations processes through the product excellence framework that we have to make these things actually like populate and make sure the teams do the work. But like sometimes we'll also do online reviews in product board directly, so that folks in leadership, like myself, like my peers, have the full visibility onto what is happening there. Now, what we also hear from organizations, from our customers, is that actually fairly senior leaders in the organizations, like SVP, senior vice presidents of products, even CPOs, review roadmap outputs directly in product board. Sometimes, to your point, they will consume it through reports that are generated by product board that ultimately reflects all the work that the PMs have put in to update the data, create their roadmaps. But like we see stakeholders up to the chief product officer level use product board to check in how things are progressing and if there's anything going sideways.
Yeah, you were saying that the largest block of users are in digital products, right, or technology products. What are some of the non-digital, non-tech products or product types that product board that you see people using product board for?
Yeah, I think the two main types that we have seen use product board for outside of digital tech is advertising, where an ad campaign is almost like thought of as a product,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, you're trying to reach a specific customer, you're trying to deliver a certain customer impact, and you're trying to deeply understand, what the needs are, and then you match the campaign to those needs, and you have several deliverables and collaborators in this process as well, like your social media expert, your campaign strategist, whatever it might be. And then we see those folks collaborate as on documents, on roadmaps, on the actual description of what the ad should be. And then, there's the person that actually like creates and produces the ad, who contributes as well. And then the person who actually runs the ad. And then there's obviously the customer also that might then like check in on the roadmap, like, hey, particularly if it's an ad agency, like, hey, what is the agency actually doing, and when are things getting delivered? And so they basically create a roadmap for their customers to then use that. So that is one example. Similarly, we've also had manufacturing examples where manufacturing would use us for digital products, but sometimes also for physical products, particularly fast moving. This is particularly the case with a few fast moving manufacturing organization, which seems to be an ongoing trend now. We need to keep a really close ear to customer feedback. Like some Chinese companies have actually pioneered some really amazing business models here where they post ads on TikTok and other sources. And then, you quickly need to translate the engagement metrics on those ads to actually products that you're building and shipping. So we have seen similar companies and startups emerge that use our product in similar ways, where they quickly respond to market demands through our product management solution, which is something that we didn't originally anticipate, but it totally makes sense.
That's interesting. So when you see something like that, does that uh, then generate ideas for further features or even new products within Productboard?
It does. It does. It does. Of course it does. Yes, yes, yes. And we always like ask ourselves, like, hey, where do we put our chips? How do we prioritize? What is the biggest bang for the buck? And verticalization, which I think this, is what this specifically gets at, like how do we serve a specific vertical better, is definitely something that is top of mind for us. And if the customer pull warrants it, then it's definitely an area that we'll double down on. Right now, we're getting a lot of customer pull specifically from the enterprise, where they are really asking for that command center for their product organization to drive ROI, to make sure the PMs work in a customer-centric way, to make the organization more customer-oriented through voice of customer reports. So that is generally where our roadmap pull is. But if you see interesting opportunities in vertical spaces, like we won't leave those unturned either.
Hmm. The uh, the on the tech, the underlying LLMs that you're using, I imagine those are API calls to commercial LLMs.
Yes.
Um, is are How are you keeping up? I mean, this is a little off topic, but something I'm interested in. How are you keeping up with all of these models coming out? I mean, have you committed to uh, working with one model provider, or are you always testing and switching between models depending on who's hitting the the top of the Hugging Face leaderboard or whatever it is?
That's such an amazing question, Craig. So generally, we're taking an approach where we're trying to use what's best for the specific use case, because we're an extremely customer centric company. The
Mm-hmm.
technology is a means to an end, and that is how it works for us. But just in terms of how we're keeping up, we have the benefit of being directly located in Silicon Valley, or in San Francisco, which is amazing. It's the tech hub. Like, people talk about LLMs and large language models all the time. So like when we reach out to other companies, or we go to networking events with other product people, or even with like AI experts like yourself, then we obviously learn a lot about what's working for people and what isn't, and that is a great source of truth. In addition to the actual scores produced by several scoring mechanisms, at the end of the day, though, the real judge if the model is working and producing the results that it needs to is the customer with the solutions we're delivering. So the way we're thinking about our technology strategy specifically is that for the different use cases in Productboard, we may very well use different commercial models at a time, and even cross compare the output of these models to choose the optimal response for the customer. And obviously, this is some muscle that we're still building and that we're still getting better at. But at the end of the day, our strategy right now is to basically choose what is best for the customer, what meets their security needs, because many organizations also have pretty stringent requirements on what LMs they might work with or what LMs they might not work with. So ultimately, again, super customer centric and trying to make the technology decisions aligned to that.
Yeah. How do you see product management developing? Because as we were saying, it didn't exist. I don't know how far back that is, but it's not something that has always existed. Uh, and you're on top of sort of how people are how project managers are working. Do you see the role evolving at all, or do you see uh, product board sort of expanding into other areas of maybe not just product management, but project management or even enterprise management?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, the product management role is definitely evolving, and I think it's actually evolving in a very exciting way, or in a couple of very exciting ways. I think, look, just looking back the last like 10 years, and this is a trend that we'll continue to see over the next couple of years, at least, is the product management is becoming much more mainstream. So just like there was a marketer, which was a very nascent role, like in the late 1900s, and then every organization has a market as a product or as a marketer now. I think product
Mhm.
management is going to be the same way, where every organization might have that has something to do with digital will have a product manager, because if you go back to what the role is really about, is it's about being customer centric and driving that ROI. Like it's simply a no brainer to have a function like that in your organization. And just to give a couple proof points here that this is actually happening, like if you look 10 years back, like product managers, or 20 years back, product managers, super nascent, some of the larger tech companies, Microsoft, Google, we've talked about it. 10 years back, across the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, in tech companies across the globe. Now, if you look where you find product managers, look at the leading banks in the US, in Europe, look at the leading consumer companies, you'll find product managers in every organization. So that is absolutely huge, and I think super exciting,
Mhm.
because ultimately product managers drive impact for the business and for customers, and that is great. I think generally also the skill expectations for product managers have increased and will continue to increase.
Mhm.
Like 20 years back, say like it was primarily web applications, box software, a couple pieces of hardware that like as a PM you could specialize in, and I think you'd be fine. I think today, like what you need to do as a product manager to be successful in your job, and this can be hard, is you need to think about web applications, mobile applications, and you know what? You also need to know about AI, because that is simply how
Yeah.
every product manager today works and gets the job done faster. And you not only need to use AI to get your job done faster with things like Productboard or Productboard Pulse or whatever it might be to really help you accelerate your day to day. You also need to know how you build AI products, because, like, there might be a use case somewhere that one of your customers have that is much better addressed with AI as opposed to everything else. And I'm going to quote Mary Linika here. She's an AI influencer who's at Google and was a Meta before, and she calls it every PM is an AI PM, and that
Mhm.
100% resonates and is absolutely true. I think the third thing that we're going to see evolve that is obviously very exciting for product board is that there is now tooling for product management, and that didn't exist 10 years ago, right? Like I was giving you this example where I was pushing data into this presentation and it was immediately outdated. And so I think the exciting piece is that there is now tooling out there that makes the PM job that much more efficient, helps them drive ROI that much more easily for the company, helps the leaders in the organization make sure that the most important things get built quickly. So I think it's an exciting role, an exciting function, an exciting part of the industry that is still heavily developing, with a lot of exciting things to come.
Yeah. What about the idea of C-suite using something like product board to, looking at an enterprise as a product and tracking, or is that get too diffuse?
No, absolutely. No, 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 no. And enterprises definitely use product board today to, make sure that their investments are properly allocated and that people are working on the most important things. So we do see C-suite personas in our customer organizations leverage Productboard. I mean, obviously, the key persona that we are serving today, that we're obviously have the verticalized solution for, is the chief product officer that makes sure that their teams are actually working on the most important things, and to get that bird's eye view across the product organization. What are people working on, but also being able to drill in specifically, like, hey, what things are working, what things aren't working, if they choose to do so. Similarly, the other chief product officer use case I also heard recently about, and we touched on this a little bit, is actually like when you go into a large customer meeting, to be prepared for that conversation using Productboard Pulse. And then we also see engagement from some adjacent C-level functions, like, for example, chief customer officer, because they are obviously heavily interested in what the product roadmaps looks like. And when they go into a customer conversation or into a customer advisory board, telling them what's going on, telling them about the roadmap, being informed on the latest big developments. So we see usage across the C-suite for sure.
Yeah, and for a company that doesn't use Productboard, what's the best way to engage? Is it is it a self-serve platform, or do you have uh, people that help onboard new product managers or new enterprises? How do people engage with Productboard?
Yeah, both. So whatever suits the needs of your organization, I would say. So if you want to learn about Productboard today, you can simply go to productboard.com, sign up for a trial, experience the product, go through the stages of ideation, discovery, and delivery to really experience the product end to end. If your organization wants to get like more into the details of best practices, how the product should be used, and the rollout might be larger and more complex, we do have support and services and a direct sales motion available that you can work with us directly, and we can partner up together and see what the best implementation strategy for your organization is. And sometimes that might look like a big bang rollout to everyone at the same time. Sometimes customers like to run POCs first to validate, particularly in the enterprise, the Productboard is the right thing for them in a small part of the organization, get the best practices established, and then roll out from there. But we do have different ways of like getting to know Productboard depending on the needs of our customers.
Yeah. Well, this is really interesting for me because as I said at the beginning, I really didn't know much about product management. Uh, is there anything I haven't covered that you want listeners to hear?
That's a good question. I think maybe just for the spirit of this podcast, and since you're focused on, so specifically since this podcast is focused on AI, like I just want to emphasize one more time that I think the opportunity for AI in product management is huge. Whether it's in the discovery phase to figure out what customers actually build, or we have Productboard Pulse in prioritization, where it's about trying to figure out what is actually the right thing that we put on top of the list. AI can help with writing product specs. So it's I think a really rapidly evolving space, specifically for product managers. And with the right tooling, I think organizations can go that much further. I also think that leaders in organizations actually play a super critical role in bringing the right AI to their organizations. So I'd always recommend thinking about like, hey, what are the biggest challenges you have in a specific discipline in your organization, whether that's product management or something else, and then looking at the solutions from like, hey, which are the solutions that can really help me solve the problem in a highly targeted way with the right data model, with the right vertical depth. And so definitely something to look out for leaders out there in the market.
Hi, this episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS. Terabytes and petabytes data is exploding in our daily lives. How many connected devices do you own? Do you ever wonder how all this data could be used in emergencies? By 2030, we'll have over 32 billion IoT devices worldwide, double what we have now. Despite this data abundance, there's a critical safety gap. Vital information isn't reaching emergency responders in time. This gap results in reactive rather than proactive emergency response, putting lives and property at unnecessary risk. Many of us have had emergencies in our homes where we depend on EMS to respond quickly. Rapid SOS is closing this safety gap with their AI-powered intelligent safety platform. They connect life-saving data from over 540 million devices to more than 21,000 public safety agencies across 6 countries. Despite $200 billion in annual safety system investments, enterprises often lack timely, actionable information during emergencies. Rapid SOS is changing that. It's not just about avoiding problems. Safety investments are linked to increased customer satisfaction, employee retention, and long-term firm value. Close the safety gap and transform your emergency response with Rapid SOS. Visit rapidsos.com/IonAI. That's IonAI, EYEONAI, all run together. Visit rapidsos.com/IonAI today to learn how AI-powered safety can protect your people and boost your bottom line. That's rapidsos, rapidsos.com/IonAI. Visit them today.